poverty line of $1.90 a day, that 570 million and 453 million of them live in Africa, so almost 79%. So the image people have is of a continent of poverty. But there's a flip side to this, and a continent of opportunity as well. So when I say, can Africa surprise the world, it is sharing with people what are those opportunities that they often miss. Demographics is very interesting. Most of the world is aging. I think 20% or more of the population in Europe is 65 years and older, 17% in the Americas. I think another 20 in the Asias. But in Africa, it's the other way around. 50 to 60% of the population in most countries is 15 to 35 years old. So the demographics, there's a demographic dividend to be won on the continent. There's a chance for increased productivity, which properly harnessed can really help to transform the continent. And that's one of my arguments. And what will it take? It takes very good economic management. And the continent showed between 2000 to 2015, where it was growing at 4 to 5% a year for 1.5 decades, that policymakers can manage the economy properly. So what I'm arguing is, let's try to build on the successes we've had. We also have many sources of growth on the continent. We cannot do the kind of trick that was done in East Asia with regard to manufacturing, because manufacturing value added on the continent is about 10% and has stagnated. But there are other sectors in services that are really growing very fast and can help to transform the continent. So these are some of the arguments that I put forward. The third piece is technology. And many people don't know the mobile phone revolution. In a population of 1.2 billion, there's 750 million mobile phones. So a lot of services, a lot of are being transformed, and people are being included in the economy in many countries in ways that were not before, simply because of this technology, not your sophisticated high-end, but even sort of low-level technology, what you can do and the information you can disseminate through the mobile phone. So I make the argument that, okay, internet penetration on the continent is about 20%, very low, but among the young people that I talked about is 40%, and likely to rise. And these are the people who are going to run the continent. They're more digitally connected, more technology savvy, more willing to take risks. And so based on some of these things I've laid out, I believe that the continent can indeed surprise the world and turn around this cycle of poverty into a cycle of opportunity.
Excellent, thank you. As you know, all day we've been talking about the high failure rates in organizational transformation. You have a much tougher task, and that is transforming a governmental institution. Not just that, but also transforming government. And tell us about how can we actually improve the chances of success with transformation of both the government and the country.
Well, let me say that one of the things I learned, I went from the World Bank, I had a chance at government 2 times. The first time in 2003 when I was asked to come and become finance minister, I was a vice president at the World Bank. And I resigned and I left. At that time, the World Bank was under the President Jim Wolfenson, who had carried out an extensive program of change in the bank. And I was lucky that I was promoted to be Director of Institutional Change, meaning that I had to help implement many of the transformations that he was talking about and trying to get through in the institution. So it wasn't that I read any great books. I was not an organizational guru, but with the knowledge I had, I knew it was going to be very difficult at home to try and transform a country. But that's what we set out to try and do. Many people regarded Nigeria at this time as unreformable, incorrigible, corrupt, weak, all the things you can think about, impossible to transform. But we thought that with the high leadership of the then President Obasanjo and a good diagnosis of what were the things ailing the country, a clear vision of what results we wanted to achieve. So there were two ends of a book, if you will. The first was a vision of where we want to go and who we want to be. The end is results that we could measure to show that change was really happening. And in between was this deep diagnosis, not of the symptoms, but of the deep causes of what was wrong, and then a strategy for implementation and a team to really try and implement this within government. So this is what we had. And my story is, I captured it in a book called, which I actually brought a lot of props. I don't know if I can reach it. I'm very short, so short arms, you know. But it's called Reforming the Unreformable, Lessons from Nigeria. And what I tried to do was to talk about, you know, how did this transformation work? Where did we succeed and where did we fail? And you know, we had 4 years. The term of a president is 4 years to achieve this. So it's not like we had 10 years or 15 years to make it work. And I think that in the 4 years we had remarkable success because we had a president who believed in the transformation. One, who accepted the deep diagnosis of what was wrong: poor economic management, especially macroeconomic management, excessive reliance on one source of growth and one commodity, which was oil, and the need to diversify that. Weak institutions and corruption, which needed to be plugged and leak, a lack of transparency, and then, you know, sort of a demise in our cultural values, which had sustained us as a country through the years. So those were four broad themes in the diagnosis we did, and we tried to turn this around. And how can you do it quickly? Most transformations fail. And, you know, in the World Bank, where I was before, we had tried to transform, and I think during President Wolfenson's time, he was quite successful in transforming, but there had been other transformations that had not been as successful. And so I knew that, you know, transformations, in order to work, you need this leadership, but you also need people to believe that something is wrong. You cannot transform a country or a place unless you've got, you know, those who are a bottom-up, if you will, as well as a top-down kind of process. So one of the challenges we faced was going out and communicating and getting people to believe that we had serious problems. We couldn't afford to waste more time for Nigeria to be lagging behind, and we really needed the buy-in to change things in the country. And so we crafted a story, and I think at the bottom of all transformations, if you really want it to work, you must carry the people with whom, I mean, for whom you're trying to do the transformation, or who need the place transformed along with you. And then you must have a team of true believers who are ready to really lead in the transformation. Otherwise, it can falter, and does falter. And the third thing, or the fourth thing, is that you need results. Unless you can show people measurable results that the changes you're making are really leading to something better, then you don't get there. So for me, most transformations fail because they take a long time. They don't show results quickly enough. You need some quick wins to convince people to go along on this path. And that was what we tried to craft.
Excellent. And you know, the challenge of transforming an organization is that the people that you're transforming, they have job for life. You don't have the traditional carrot and sticks. It's very hierarchical. So how do you deal with that resistance and the lack of motivation? Oh, this is the flavor of the month, and they're not serious. We just make sure that the 4-year term is over, and then we'll deal with another leader.
Well, you know, sometimes when you're doing transformation, a crisis can help. Yeah.